Interstellar is directed by Christopher Nolan and stars Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, Casey Affleck, John Lithgow, Michael Caine, and one other individual who I won't name just in case because it is a nice surprise. Now, this is the latest Nolan movie, and with every Nolan release, there's, a lot of talk and a lot of theorizing, and then there's the reviews. And this seems to be the most mixed review movie from Nolan that I've seen in quite a long time. A lot of people are praising it, a lot of people are kind of in the middle, and a lot of people are actually saying that it's not good and it's his worst movie. I will say that I saw it a few days ago and I wanted to really soak in everything, and I read a bunch of stuff about Interstellar because I really got into this movie and wanted to know more. Sometimes when this happens, it's for negative reasons, sometimes it's for positives. For this, it was kind of both. And the only other movie that I did this with this year was Gone Girl, although Interstellar I've looked so much more into, and I've been thinking about it constantly, and that is a good thing. When you're thinking about a movie, unless it's completely horrible and you just can't believe how bad it was, most of the time it's a good thing. So I do give it praise for making me think. And I wouldn't say that it's a perfect movie at all, far from it. There's one major flaw that cannot allow it to be a perfect movie. It's also not Nolan's best. There's quite a few movies that I would say that I enjoyed more than this, that I would rate it higher on a scale of 10. However, out of all of Nolan's movies, this is the one that I would recommend the most. This is something that I think moviegoers, film critics, and all that, and just casual viewers need to experience. It's a ride. It really is. This is one of my favorite sci-fi movies, in terms of interest level and the feel, the experience. It really felt like I was out there in space with them. The story here is that Earth is dying, and there's too much dirt. There's dirt everywhere. There's no crops that are growing other than corn, but that's slowly dying off because of blight as well. So they need to leave Earth and they need to find a new planet, a new place to have the human race continue. And Matthew McConaughey's character, Cooper, needs to pilot one of the spaceships to go out there in search of this. And in that, it's so interesting. There's some emotional ties here that I didn't think I was going to feel. And I don't necessarily know if I was supposed to feel them at these certain moments. At the very end of the movie, I think that there was supposed to be an emotional tug. Like, usually there's a Nolan punch at the end of all of his movies. There's just something there that everything gets intertwined and everything is explained, and you're like, wow, that was, amazingly done. But this one, I didn't have that feeling. It's the only time that I didn't have that feeling. Throughout the entire rest of the movie, other than the ending, other than the conclusion, it was fantastic. I was gripped. I actually felt bad every time that they showed Earth and how it's slowly dying. I don't know if Nolan purposely wanted you to feel this, but I felt bad for them. And when you're in space, when they are in space, it felt like you were in space. It felt like you were part of the team, and every time that something was going wrong, or they were just taking off and the spaceship was kind of shaking, and you're just like, oh, I feel there. I was on the edge of my seat. And there's one specific scene, my goodness, they added music, and it's kind of a cliche thing for them to do with this one scene, but it was done so well, and because of the music, because of the score by Hans Zimmer, he can make any movie that much better just by adding his music. And this is the best. The music in this movie is probably my favorite Hans Zimmer, music from any movie that he's ever done before. It was amazing. And this one scene, when they had this score playing, I was just like, oh my God, I'm at the edge of my seat here. And it's cliche, but I don't care. It's done so well. I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. Now, in terms of characters, everyone did a great job. And one of the things that Nolan is one of the few negatives that Nolan has is weak female characters, excuse me. And when he first announced that Anne Hathaway and Jessica Chastain were going to be the two female leads, I was like, ah, God, I despise those two actresses. I really do not like them. There's very few rare instances that I do. And this is one of them. I really enjoyed their character. I really enjoyed their acting. They did a very good job with their performances. More so Anne Hathaway, I'd probably say. Other than one scene, there's one flaw with her character, but it's her character, not her acting. She did a fine job delivering her lines and just acting, and I really dug her character. Other than this one flaw that her character has, it went against kind of everything that she stood for. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. And surprisingly, there's characters that are robots in this, and I really enjoyed the robots. The robots are freaking awesome. They have like humor levels, so they're actually kind of funny, and they add some comic relief, but they're also freaking awesome because they're robots. They can kind of do anything, and they can go save you. They can do other stuff, and they're just like squares. Like they're just you know, they're not like your normal robot where they look like human. They just have like you know, a screen so that they can see, and they have like these arms that are like squares, and they kind of just move around like that. It worked. It worked so well because their characters were really well done. The script for this is amazing. Well, for me anyway, for the character lines, I really like everything, because everything tied so well with the human nature, with the science. It was just interesting, and I understood everything too. It's really complicated, but it was explained in a way that I think most people can understand. So that's definitely a positive. Now, some of the few negatives, the one flaw with Anne Hathaway's character is one of the negatives. Another thing, as awesome as the music was, sometimes it was a little bit too loud and you couldn't hear everything. Apparently I've heard that Nolan did this on purpose, and I don't understand why. It doesn't make sense to me. If you want to hear everybody, in my opinion, no matter what the movie is, I really want to hear what everybody's saying, and that kind of happened a few times in the movie, or I couldn't hear them because the music was too loud. So the audios were kind of off, in my opinion. And the flaw at the end. I'm not going to say any spoilers, but they should have done something different at the end. Just, for one, I didn't like it, what kind of happens at the end, but another thing too is that the entire movie is not possible because of this one thing. But I can't go into detail. I might do a spoiler-filled review and explain, but yeah, I won't spoil anything, but I did not like the ending, and there's one major flaw that just, it's not possible. So anyway, other than that, like I said at the beginning, this is an experience. It is, you know, out of all of Nolan's movies, I think that you need to see this movie. It's not the best movie of the year, but I would recommend this more than my highest rated movie because it's so different and unique and an experience. So I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. And I definitely recommend seeing this movie. You might not like it, and that's fine, but it's an experience, and I think that most people need to see it. Kind of like Avatar. Avatar was not the best movie that came out that year that it came out, I think 2009, was not the best 2009 movie. It's basically the Pocahontas story, but it was an experience that I think a lot of people needed to have if you enjoy movies. So I'm going to say the same thing for Interstellar. Thank you all for watching. You've been bearded in. Beardage.